As the back end of the regular season is coming to an end, NBA fans begin to turn their minds to the playoffs. With the bloodbath that has been the Western Conference and the top 5 teams in the East being really strong, we are set for an entertaining show. But for the 14 teams who missed the playoffs and their fans, some of their attention will begin to turn to the NBA draft and the wealth of potential that lies within. The draft is probably the most uncertain form of talent acquisition in the NBA, but it also has the most range. Even with the first pick, you could acquire a Kwame Brown or a Markelle Fultz and find yourself without the superstar you expect a la LeBron James, Ben Simmons or Anthony Davis. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you could find serious talent all the way through to the late first and even second round. Rudy Gobert was selected with the 27th pick, John Collins with the 19th, and bigger projects like Mitchell Robinson all the way down with the 36th pick. It is for these reasons that I refer to the NBA draft as an art and not a science. Like art, everyone has different perspective on players, potential, and the quality of decisions that are made by teams. NBA teams, journalists, and fans alike all try their best to find ways to turn the draft into science. But the reality is that players are never drafted 1 to 60 in terms of future value added. This video will aim to clear up some of the murkiness surrounding the draft by giving my thoughts on the rankings of the top players in this year's draft. I'll do this by taking the standings of the lottery as of the 23rd of March 2019. In making this mock draft, I considered the team's needs slightly, but as this is set to change at the lottery, I primarily focused on who was the best player available for most picks. With those disclaimers done, let's jump right into the first pick of the draft. And here, I have an exceptionally controversial pick, with the New York Knicks taking Zion Williamson. Before everyone gets in the comments, that was sarcasm. After RJ Barrett came in as the pre-college season favourite, Williamson has really established himself as the clear-cut number 1 pick in this draft and a transcendent talent. There really isn't much to say about Zion, as he has become one of the media's darlings, and you almost can't read an article on The Ringer or any other basketball site without seeing at least one mention of his name. But for the Knicks, Zion is the perfect fit. He stands at an incredible 6'7" and weighs around 280 pounds, all while possessing some of the most amazing athleticism seen since LeBron James in high school. Zion flies around the court at an amazing pace and uses this athleticism on both the defensive and offensive ends of the court. And this is the big reason why he will go number 1. Zion has shown he has the ability to really impact both sides of the basketball court. On the defensive side of things, he can hang with a lot of players on the perimeter and uses his strength to ensure he never gets bodied. And even if he does get beaten by smaller or quicker players, he uses his length and athleticism to get the chase down block or at least recover to contest the shot. But where he is truly valuable defensively is protecting the rim, blocking his own players' shots, and then getting the rebound. Zion has an amazing first jump, but an almost better second jump. He can go to block a shot and still jump higher than everyone else when going to get the rebound. And his rebounding is simply incredible. Zion gobbles up 8.8 rebounds a game, but it is how he gets them that is impressive. He can rise up and extend his arms out to snatch rebounds from out of the grasp of opposing players. This makes him a great offensive rebounder as well as a defensive rebounder, because it allows him to grab rebounds which are bounced into awkward positions. And then on the offensive side of the court, he is just a bully, and will take down mismatches and attack all kinds of players off the dribble. But it is in transition where he will truly shine in the NBA. Zion is so fast and strong with such a tight handle that he reminds me of LeBron James in transition. He can bring it up himself or catch it on the trail and the result will be the same. A one-way ticket to the rim. While his jump shot is basically non-existent at this point, it is at least something he is clearly working on. Plus, we have seen with Ben Simmons that it isn't necessarily required to dominate in the NBA. With his well-rounded skill set and once-in-a-lifetime athleticism, Zion is a slam dunk for the first pick, and I have the Knicks and almost every other team taking him number 1 overall. Up next is the Phoenix Suns, and one of the only picks I've made based on team needs. At this stage, I still have RJ Barrett as the second best player available in the draft, as his combination of size, speed, skill, and clear ability to be a first option will have most teams take him number 2 in my mind. However, the Phoenix Suns already have Devin Booker as their clear primary scorer and have multiple young wings in Oubre, Bridges, and Josh Jackson. It is for this reason that I have them selecting the clear best point guard in the draft, Ja Morant. Morant is that rare sophomore player who has made such a huge leap that he has also leaped up draft boards. Before this season, Morant was probably not even in top 10 contention as a pick. The skinny, explosive guard had a solid year in his first season at Murray State, but he was hidden behind 2 seniors and didn't have the opportunity to show what he could do. Last season, his usage rate was 20.4%, low for a point guard. This year, it has blown up to 32.2%, meaning that a third of his team's possessions end with him shooting or getting an assist. And his stats have improved dramatically, and not just in proportion with his usage rate. Morant is averaging 24.6 points, 5.5 rebounds, 10 assists, 1.8 steals, and 0.8 blocks a game, all while shooting 50% from the field and 33.6% from deep. The low 3-point percentage is probably one of the knocks on Morant's game, but he improved from last year where he only shot 30%, and he shoots 80% from the free throw line. Statistical analysis has shown that free throw percentage may be a better indicator of shooting ability in college than actual 3-point percentage itself. Just take a look at Markelle Fultz and his 3-point woes in the NBA. The other knock on Morant is that he might not be able to handle the physicality of the big league. The 6'3" point guard is skinny to be sure, but I believe he has the quickness, guile, and athleticism to make up for it. Morant is quick off his first step and can blow by most point guards. In fact, he can almost always beat his matchup one-on-one. Then it comes down to, does he score over the help or pass over it? With 10 assists per game and some of the most efficient scoring in college basketball, Morant does both. And that is what will appeal to teams at the top of the draft board, and especially Phoenix. The Suns will hope that Morant can be the player to finally set up DeAndre Ayton while distributing to Booker and that other young gun wings. It is for this reason that I have them taking him over the more clear-cut first option in RJ Barrett. Morant will also benefit from being surrounded by the talent of Phoenix, and in my mind, it could be an absolutely fantastic fit for both parties. Picking third, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I have them taking RJ Barrett as the slam dunk third pick. I've heard talk of people pushing Jarrett Culver and even DeAndre Hunter up to the third pick spot over Barrett, and to me, this is blasphemous. RJ came into the season as a pretty unanimous number 1 pick, and before Zion exploded onto the national limelight as the rare combination of athleticism, skill, and basketball IQ, Barrett looked set to stay there. But people seem to believe that because Barrett has dropped from the top spot, that it is easy to slide him even further down. It's not. If Chicago, Cleveland, New York, Atlanta, and almost any team with a realistic lotto chance are picking second, I have them taking Barrett. Phoenix is basically the only team that I have wanting Morant over Barrett, and this is partially due to RJ's one major weakness. The guy is a bit of a ball hog. Of the 3 stars on Duke, Barrett's usage rate is the clear highest at almost 33%, while his true shooting is only 53.5%, compared to Zion's ridiculous 70% true shooting. Barrett takes 19 shots a game, compared to Zion Williamson's tiny 12.3 a game. Duke might be winning games, but if I was Coach K, I'd be screaming at Barrett to set their star up more and improve the efficiency of the team in a heartbeat. But there is a reason for Barrett's ball hogging. The kid can flat out score the basketball. He is 6'7", lightning quick, has a great handle, a wide range of dribble moves, and has a pretty decent jumper to go with it. He uses all of these skills to break down players in the half court, and like Zion, he's a blur in transition. There is absolutely no denying that Barrett can beat defenders and create opportunities for himself and his teammates. And NBA teams place a huge amount of value on guys like this. They are what make entire NBA offenses tick, purely due to their ability to scramble defenses. But Barrett's shot is a little worrisome for NBA front offices, and is probably the bigger issue when compared to his ball hogging. He's shooting 30.4% from deep and 66.2% from the free throw line. Not ideal for a wing player. And with the way NBA offenses are trending, those numbers look even worse. And the free throw percentage is probably scarier than the 3-point percentage as well. It will limit how good RJ can be as a scorer when he gets fouled, and it also indicates that his jumper might not develop the way he wants it to. A lot of guys come out of college with high 3-point percentages, but some of them struggle to translate it over to the NBA. More often than not, the ones who struggle have a bad free throw percentage. If Barrett can develop an outside shot, he has the potential to be one of the best scorers in the league. If he doesn't, he could be a ball hog who doesn't score or create with any real efficiency. But with a ceiling that high, I think the Cavaliers would be mad not to take him 3rd overall. Coming in with the 4th pick is the Chicago Bulls on my mock, and I have them taking the 3rd star from Duke, Cameron Reddish. Duke fans might scream out about his seeming inability to finish at the rim and his lackluster 3-point shooting. But I think when you look past this, you see an amazing athlete with a huge frame who has the skills to develop into a very valuable NBA player. Reddish is 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, and his frame is lean and he is fast. When you look at him, you almost see the prototypical NBA wing player. He has the length to be able to defend and bother players at multiple positions, the speed to keep up with them, and the motor to run and play both sides of the court. And despite his Duke shooting percentage being a little bit lower than we would like from deep, his free throw percentage is a lot better. Reddish has shot around 33% from deep this season and has been shooting 76% from the free throw stripe. The strong free throw percentage is promising, and I project Reddish as a guy who can space the floor and knock down open shots. And with Cam taking 62% of his shots from 3, it appears to be a role he is preparing for. And this is why I would take Reddish over guys like Culver, Hunter, and Garland. They've been playing as first options with exceptionally high usages and generating their production in this way. But how many teams can offer that role to those players? How many of them will drive a team to the playoffs with a player of that style as a primary option? There are perhaps only 60 high usage roles in the NBA at any one time. What you need surrounding those players is guys that are highly efficient without the ball in their hand. Reddish will provide that on both the defensive and offensive end of the floor at a minimum. He'll be a high impact player without using the ball an incredible amount, who is an absolutely amazing perimeter defender. And then there is the potential that he does develop into a player who can use the ball, drive to the rim, run pick and rolls, and snipe threes. Reddish has shown flashes of this at Duke, but with Barrett, Williamson, and Trey Jones, the opportunity to create just isn't really there for Cam. But look at guys like Justice Winslow, a guy who defends, cuts, and uses the ball at a low usage for his first 3 seasons. And then this year, he has shown the ability to be a strong secondary option ball handler who is still a wicked defender. While Reddish is a different kind of player, that projection is something that I could see happening, which is why I would pick him number 4. A safe bet for minimum value with the potential for a star. What more could you want? Coming up with the number 5th and the number 6th pick in this draft is the Atlanta Hawks. With these 2 picks, the Hawks actually have the highest chance at winning the Zion Williamson lottery. And having 2 back-to-back picks is amazing this high. And if it pans out, the Hawks will likely make picks that influence each other. If they pick a guard 5th, they are less likely to at 6th. But for the purposes of this draft, I'll just pick the best player available and do a more team-centric version post-lottery. With the 5th pick, I have the Hawks taking Jarrett Culver. Culver is a really interesting project. As a springy sophomore from Texas Tech, he's been dominating college and was named the Big 12 Player of the Year. I first read about Jarrett being a draft riser on a blog called The Stepien, which I'll link in the description below. He put together an article outlining that Culver was a serious talent very early on and that he was growing. Culver is listed as 6'5", but after reading that article, I believe he's almost definitely 6'7" or 8, and he could grow to even 6'9" or 10. This athletic potential is huge, as Culver has point guard skills in a giant frame. We've seen how valuable this can be in players like Ben Simmons and Giannis, and even with players in the mold of Sean Livingston. Culver isn't a freak athlete like Simmons and Giannis, but he has good speed, a decent first step, and around average leaping ability. And he has a great offensive range. He can shoot off the dribble, drive, hit the step back 3, shoot threes, create in the post, cut, and run the pick and roll. This kind of offensive versatility is what you need to be a great scorer in the NBA. Culver might never become a 20 plus point scorer in the NBA, but he could be a great complementary piece if he doesn't. With his size, he could also play the wing and projects as a player who will be able to switch and guard multiple positions and fit into a huge range of lineups offensively. And with that comes huge value, which is why I have him being taken 5th overall. And then with the 6th pick, I have the Hawks taking Brandon Clarke. Some people might think this is a bit of a reach again, picking a third-year player who is actually going to be closer to 23 at the time of the draft. Plus, Clarke was nowhere near the top of draft boards at the beginning of the season. But this guy fits into the mold of players that I was discussing with Cam Reddish. Not much needs to go right for him to be a good NBA player, and if it does go right, he could be a great one. Clarke is a fantastic athlete standing at 6'8" and can play anywhere from the 2 guard to the power forward, and maybe even small ball 5 in the NBA. On offense, Clarke is a strong driver to the rim and a great finisher in pick and roll situations as a screen setter. He finishes at an absolutely absurd rate of over 70% from near the rim, and when he misses, he can use his athleticism to attack the glass again and again. Plus, he does a lot more than just score in the paint. He has a soft touch from the mid-range and knocks down a lot of jumpers and floaters from this range. While he doesn't shoot threes yet, with his good stroke from mid-range that seems very natural with great mechanics, it could be something that he learns. But even if he doesn't learn to space the floor from deep, he could become a player who can be a positive contributor to teams' offenses, so long as they surround him with enough shooters. And with the Hawks, they have enough shooting to justify fitting an athletic slasher and creator like Clarke into the fold. And this hasn't even discussed how good of a defender Clarke is. The guy is a freak defender, and one of the best in college. He averages 3 blocks and 1 steal a game, and is an absolute presence on the wing and protecting the rim. This kind of versatility is amazing, and with teams going away from gigantic big men more and more, rim protection is becoming rarer. So Clarke's value in this regard will be even higher than usual, and for this reason, I have him going 6th overall in the draft. With the 7th pick, I have the Grizzlies selecting DeAndre Hunter, continuing my tradition of taking non-freshmen outside of the Duke Big Three. Hunter is one of the most efficient scorers in college basketball. He shoots 53% from the field, 46% from 3, and 78.4% from the free throw line. Putting it simply, Hunter can shoot, and is probably the best shooter in the entire draft. He will help any NBA team space the floor from the guard and wing positions, and when he does more than shoot, he does it with low turnovers. Hunter can drive and score in the paint, and gets points off jumpers and at the rim as well. I don't think he projects as an NBA star, but as discussed with Cam Reddish, players who can shoot and create in secondary roles are more valuable than inefficient scorers in primary ones. Plus, Hunter also projects as a solid defender who uses his 7'2" wingspan to harass and bother players on the perimeter. For teams like the Grizzlies, Wizards, Hawks, Pelicans, and the Lakers, a guy like Hunter will be very appealing. These teams already have their primary creators and will be in the hunt for complementary pieces, and of those, Hunter might be one of the best. Another of those complementary pieces is Jackson Hayes, who I have the Washington Wizards picking with the number 8 pick in the draft. Hayes is the first true big man off the board for me in the 2019 draft, and even then he fits into the mold of a Clint Capella, Rudy Gobert, or JaVale McGee, rather than a big bruising big man like Joel Embiid. Hayes stands at 6'11", has a wingspan of 7'4", and is very, very athletic. On defense, he'll protect the rim, as he averages 2.2 blocks a game in college, and impacts almost every shot that gets thrown up. He also has the quickness and length to be a positive perimeter defender when he gets caught out on switches, something that has become very important for NBA centers. Without this, big men will get exposed in pick and roll situations when their defensive structure has them switch. Hayes also has the athleticism needed to develop into a player who could potentially be effective at guarding the pick and roll. He needs to work on timing and rotations, as he sometimes gets caught in no man's land, but these things can be taught and tightened. The speed and length to break these plays up can't. He also needs to work on his rebounding, but if he puts on some extra size, he'll be stronger down low and block more shots and grab more rebounds. On offense, his role will be to set screens and dive to the rim, to catch lobs and score easy points. If he ever adds shooting to this, it's all upside. This is a great kind of player to take at number 8, and the Wizards would love to get a young big to pair next to Beal and John Wall for pick and roll sets. But let's not kid ourselves, Jackson Hayes is still a bit of a project. And then with the 9th pick in the draft, I have the Pelicans selecting another project in Jonte Porter. Like his older brother, there are injury clouds around Jonte, but for him, it is an ACL and MCL that has kept him out of his sophomore college campaign. This injury should pose less risk to teams than a back one, and I think in a weakish draft outside of the top picks, teams will be willing to risk for pure talent. And pure talent, Jonte Porter has. In his freshman year, Porter shot 36.4% on threes and averaged 9.9 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 1.7 blocks, and 0.8 steals a game in just 24 minutes off the bench. These are great stats for one of the youngest players as a freshman last year, and he could develop into a fantastic player for whichever team takes him. He fits the modern NBA perfectly, being able to shoot, pass, rebound, and defend at a high level. Plus, he can actually create his own shot off of the dribble and in the post, giving him the potential to turn into more than just a role player. But like Hunter, Reddish, and Clark, even if he doesn't develop into a star as a skilled center, he'll be able to contribute to winning basketball. His skill level is already high enough to contribute, and his defense is something that any team can use. There is the risk that the time away from basketball and his injury has cost him some speed and he might be a bit rusty, but when the rest of the prospects aren't that enthralling, I'd swing for the fences. With the 10th and the final pick of this preliminary mock, which has also been a huge video, so thanks for watching if you are this far in, I'm selecting Coby White for the LA Lakers. This selection is one of the toughest as there is no real clear pick for me. Hell, outside of the top 8 players, there probably isn't a clear pick, and Porter could go late in the lottery, and so could Coby White. And the Lakers might not even have this pick at the time of the draft, but I think if they do, they'll go for shooting and spacing. White brings this. He shoots 36% from deep on 6.6 attempts, and is an 82% free throw shooter. Both of these stats point to a player who could develop into a lethal floor spacer in the NBA. He can also handle the ball himself, and can play both the shooting and the point guard positions. This will be valuable on teams that already have offensive creation, as he can attack in secondary actions or simply shoot when open. And on teams that don't have as much creation, he can jump straight in and become a key part of the offense. His turnover to assist ratio isn't great, but that will come with time, and if he goes to a stronger team, he'll have the opportunity to develop and adjust to having more ball handling responsibilities over time. But White will be competing with a whole wealth of players for the top 10 pick. Romeo Langford, Bol Bol, Darius Garland, and a whole range of players will be trying to make their name in the NCAA tournament and the draft combine. So be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to see my updated mock draft after the lottery and the NCAA tournament. And please leave a like and let me know in the comments below what you think of this year's draft.